Hi, welcome back to Keble Junction, episode 2. It did take me a lot longer to get to doing this, I'll be honest. Wanted to sort of do one every 4 to 6 weeks, but young family, kids, school holidays, etc. kind of gets in the way, I suppose. But essentially, this episode, I'm going to talk through my layout design, which I finally got around to finishing. I sort of did 2/3 of it and then sort of stopped and didn't really know what to do with it or where to go or what sort of layout to design. But I'll talk through that in detail. That's the idea of this episode. On any rail software, which I'm sure some of you may have used. I found it extremely helpful, particularly for someone that's not done it before. It makes life a lot easier to put track work together and just sort of play around with it, really. Then what I'll do is I'm going to print it out on 1:1 scale. That can then lay out in here across the baseboards, which again I'll show you. So then I can see what size this is going to look like, how much room I've got around the track work, what I can do with regards to scenic areas, and probably tweak the layout. The design I've going to talk through probably isn't necessarily the final design. I'm sure there'll be changes. I may even find that I've got more space actually than I think, and I could maybe extend it. It will look complex, particularly for someone's first layout like mine, but I don't want to do a simple layout. I don't want to do something that's not going to provide a huge amount of operational interest, still take me quite a long time to build, and then I end up sort of ripping it up, wanting to do another one or do something better or bigger, or having to keep changing it to extend it. I want to start with something that I know is going to give me plenty of work, plenty of learning as I go, and then I can enjoy it once it's all kind of finished. But I guess maybe to a lot of modelers, you probably never finished in some respects, and maybe that's how I'll feel when I get to the end of it. It's not finished, but we'll find out. So here we go. I'll show you the design of my Keble Road Junction layout designed on any rail software. So here we go. I will talk you through my design of Keble Road Junction using any rail software. So this is the full layout design, as you can see. Top of the screen, you can see the station area, and then obviously it's a full loop layout. As I said, looks pretty complex, but want it to be a decent layout for operational interest and plenty of learning to go through for sure. But I'll go through each of these sections in a little bit more detail. So actually what I'll do at this point before we go round the layout is as you can see, this is the full layout. So the platform, the east, the south, and then the west side. This is obviously the fiddle yard around here, which we'll go round. But just sort of explain the layout, the baseboards itself. So the blue lines are the baseboards. And what I've done is I've put the blue braces. If I just put a laser point on here to show you, so all of these particular sections here, these are all the blue braced parts under the baseboards. That was really helpful in the design because what it enabled me to do was to ensure that I didn't have any point work right over the top of one of those either joins between the two separate baseboards or between a brace on a particular baseboard. So as we go round, you probably will notice, or if you have a look, that there isn't actually any points across any of those blue sections, which hopefully, fingers crossed, will make life significantly easier to putting all the points in, and then obviously the point motors and all the electrical gubbins that go with it. So this is the station area, as you can see. So we've got 1, 2, 3 main platforms, which will serve 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines, 2 up, 2 down, and then a sort of through / what was originally going to be a sort of terminus platform, which I'll show you where that goes shortly. But I realised when I was doing the design, I was sort of struggling a little bit to connect the left-hand side of effectively this screen to the fiddle yard, which we'll get round to. But this platform length I've worked out in N gauge, obviously, I believe is enough for a full HST rake. I will double check that before obviously I get into that level of detail, but of course I can change that as I build. But essentially, this is the main station area. So this is the obviously the exit of the station to the east. As you can see, as the lines exit, there is obviously some point work to allow the trains to navigate between the different tracks. This one obviously goes all the way through to this one here. So I think this one is the down, I believe, and obviously you can get to the down on the fast line as opposed to the slow. The top up here, as you can see, this one that loops up around the top. This was going to be my, if you like, end-to-end sort of branch line. But as I said, I realised that I couldn't really find a way of, connecting the other end of the station to the fiddle yard in sort of an efficient way, if you like. So that one comes down here, as you can see, and then veers off up into this top platform. But obviously there's some point work here to bring it down into the main line as well. So I can have trains, come from the fiddle yard onto the main layout, and then obviously feed off into the sort of terminus sort of branch line, and then obviously the tracks, all four lines come all the way around to the right hand side of the layout, to the east side, and I'll show you what that looks like now. So as we come around to the east side of the layout, east as obviously when I walk into my garage, you can see the four lines at the top here coming around from the four main lines from the station, and then you can see this line over to the right. This is the branch line that looped all the way around to the top right hand corner. And then as we come down here, this is going to be sort of I'm thinking of sort of a freight yard and a sort of bit of a TMD as well. So I've got some track work that comes off to the left here. I've only got it going to two sort of sidings. I did initially want to maybe do that, have a bit more in there. I'm not quite sure how I'll do that. I don't want it to be sort of in and out and sort of back and forth too much. And then obviously some point work for trains to traverse the different lines. And then this track comes off here to the right hand side, actually will go underneath this branch line that comes down from the right. So you can see the branch line following this route. And then underneath that branch line will be a TMD. So that's the sort of bottom right hand corner, which I'll show you on the next section, is where the TMD is going to be. Again, it will be behind potentially some sort of higher track work, because I've got the bridge of the branch line going across here. But again, it's the first pass at my design, and things may well change as we go along. But let's go to the bottom right hand corner of the layout as well now. So once you can see that left-hand side of the section we've just been through, then we'll have the next part of the layout, which is this part. This is the bottom half. So down the bottom here of this section, the TMD, this is that section here going around the bottom. So this is the TMD area. So fair bit of track work, a decent amount of track work as well for sort of rakes of freight trains, or potentially a short rakes of freight trains, or more so being a TMD, just the trains themselves for the maintenance depot. And then as we've got this line here, this is the branch line that's going to come all the way, sweeps all the way around sort of the outside of the layout, if you like. And then these are the four main lines going around to the south side, around to the bottom of the layout where the garage is going to garage door enters, which will come onto that section now. So now onto the south side, as you can see down here, it's the garage door. So this is where I'm going to enter. This board here, this is the lift out section for me to get in. And then this bit here, as you can see, this very short station, that's the branch line that I mentioned that loops all the way around the top of the layout and then crosses over the track work where the TMD enters, or you enter the TMD. As I said, it's a short platform. I was considering taking it all the way along here, but with this being a lift out section, it's going to be raised, because obviously the track work has to go up across that track as well. So it's going to be raised track work. So I'm just thinking that might be a little bit too difficult to maintain it being stable and steady over a long period of time. So I've decided to just terminate the branch line here. It will be just a sort of DMU type EMU branch line. So I'm not too worried about this going too much further. But then this is the straight through section. As I said, there's no point work on here. I've got plenty of point work around by the station area, around by the TMD to the right. I want this to be sort of a nice flow through. You can see I haven't quite got the track distances exactly equal, but that's just a design. Obviously I can do that when I lay the layout itself. So now we're at the southwest side of the layout. As you look at it from the first screen that I showed, the 4 main lines, as you can see, just filtering around here to take round to the left hand side, and then this is going to spur off here into the fiddle yard. As you can see, quite a few lines. I think there's 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines on my fiddle yard. I've started it quite early rather than having it just on the left hand side, because I've got potentially quite long rakes of HSTs and probably even longer rakes of freight as well, which I'm quite keen on. But again, this only comes off this one line here, so I would have to use the point work at other areas of the layout to get trains in and out of the fiddle yard. But that's probably fairly normal, I guess, for most layouts. So fiddle yard can't typically be on both sides. But as you can say, 6 lines of fiddle yard, and then that will go around to the full west end of my layout, which I'll go through to now. So as we come around to the west side, or the left side of the layout, as you look at it from the beginning, these are your four main lines going through, and the 6 fiddle yard. Obviously nothing particularly interesting on this part, but obviously the section in between here, so the separation will be a retaining wall. So actually this fiddle yard is going to be underneath. Effectively I'm going to cover it over with another board, and then on top of that board I'll put a fairly sizable sort of town scene, and then that town scene will go all the way to the top left hand corner, which will be effectively where the station starts, as you'll see in a second. So yeah, this is going to be the sort of town area of the layout, which will be the far left hand side above the fiddle yard. So as we come around to the final section of the layout, you can see here, these are the 4 main lines going back round to the station, which we'll come to in a second. And then this is the exit of the fiddle yard. As you can see, I've split those 6 into 2 lines and then into 1. And that 1 line is what essentially goes across into that top platform, what was the branch platform essentially originally, which we'll go on to the next section and show you now. So as we come back round, final section, as you can see, the station area is here. Obviously the 5 lines, as I mentioned before, this is the sort of what was originally the terminus branch line, which I've now extended to bring me into that fiddle yard. So the branch line train can come from the station by the TMD all the way around to the main station, and then it can just reverse and go back down the branch line, or onto the main lines and then round the layout, or it can continue on and go straight into the fiddle yard over this side, and then we can swap trains around, a bit of operational work there. But that's the idea. That's the layout in one loop as we've been round. Now it's time for printing this out all on 1:1 scale, and then take it into the garage, put it all down, see what it looks like. So let's go. So here we go. 298 pages, I think, of Keble Road Junction printed out on 1:1 scale. So we're going to lay it out here. Hopefully it fits if I've got my measurements right. As you can probably tell, the weather's warmed up, which is actually quite nice. We've not had the best summer so far. I've actually just been in my loft to get something, and I'm quite grateful that I'm in my garage with a big garage door open. It's a little bit cooler, so fingers crossed that will benefit me as well as I build this out. But let's go. Let's lay down Keble Road Junction. So here we are. Here's the, as you can see, it laid out all the way around. But as I said, over here, from here this last row, it went off. I'm not quite exactly sure why. When I printed it, I think I've obviously changed the print setting, and it's done it either not the wrong scale, but it's slightly off on the paper. But anyway, we can I'll show you what's happened. But here's the as you can see, will be the main station. So quite a long station, which hopefully, as you can see here, the arrow there says 144 to there. That I believe is the length of a full wake HST. So that's the main station area. So as you've already seen the design, you can see that comes all the way around here. It is very close to the edge on the corner here, but again, probably not so much of an issue. Into the fiddle yard. So this here is the fiddle yard section. So this back bit, this will be what's hidden underneath what will be a town scene across the top. Across here, these are the four main lines going all the way around. And then as you can see, the fiddle yard goes all the way around, and as you can start to see, this is where the printing decided to do something a bit odd, but it's by and large right. Again, this comes around here fairly close to the corner, and then as you can see up here where it did start going out, this is where this will filter back in. This will probably still be covered. I'm probably still going to cover this sort of corner section, and it'll probably appear somewhere out here, maybe a bit further along where the points are around here. This fiddle yard will come out onto the main line. So as you can see here, these are the four main lines going all the way along. I haven't got any point work along here. I've kept this really sort of straight through, but I do think I need to change something along here so that trains coming up or down, I'm not sure which one's up or down from here, that can come across and then into the fiddle yard around that side. But I'll probably work that out on the software itself. This will come up to this end. That's going to be, again, you can see where the printing's gone a bit funny. If I just pull that piece down, there we go. That there is obviously what effectively is that branch line with the station terminus at the edge here. That goes all the way around, as you can see here, and then obviously the main lines come around the corner. This over here, the back part here, that's the what will be probably the TMD section, and then these are the main lines coming around again, as I mentioned. This is where this line here is the branch line. You can see this will actually be raised, and this will go across those tracks at that point. Again, these are the four main lines. Couple of sort of shunting sidings here. Probably now I can see the size. I may leave it because there's not a huge amount of room. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do, but I'm going to consider maybe changing this section here. Some point work here for trains to change obviously the tracks. This main line at the top here will come round, will branch off, and then branch off again into that TMD section, which will go underneath that branch line there. As we come around here, again, four main lines. That's again the branch line at the very top, going all the way around, and then the four main lines come around here into the station area. Branch line feeding in, and then as you get to here, you can see some of that point work. So tracks merging there, same there, and then obviously this can come across to these two lines here. This is loosely based on my local station to me. Again, the branch line can come down here and then stay at the top and go into that what is effectively the fifth platform at the main station here. As you can see, that will then filter all the way back around again, round to the main sidings, fiddle yard at the back, and that's it. So that's the section. So it is as I expected it to be. It has laid out fairly well. Obviously it did have the issue with the printing, slightly frustrating, but generally speaking, yeah, quite happy. There's quite a bit of room here. So again, maybe I'll do some stuff here. I'm not quite sure. This is the lift out section. As you can see the door. So this bit does lift up, and therefore don't want to have too much at this point, probably from here to here where you can see the brackets. But yeah, essentially that is Keble Junction in paper. So now it's working out what to do next, and that's where maybe a little bit of advice will be really helpful. So there we have it, Keble Road Junction in paper. Bit of a shame, as I said, the printing seemed to go slightly off, but it is what it is. It's exactly how I put it on the Anywhere software. Now for me, it's probably just going to have a sort of think about having a look about any changes I can make. Again, possibly more the points between the main lines to enable better access to the fiddle yard behind me here. But for a first attempt, A, on Anywhere, and B, for my first layout, I'm pretty pleased, I think. Yeah, it's fairly exciting time, I suppose, for me to now move to the next stage, which is where I'd love to help. It is my first time, as I keep saying, and therefore not quite sure what to do next. I will probably put cork underneath the tracks. I don't see any reason or benefit of not doing it. There seems to be more benefits for putting cork under track. So I don't know if that's the first thing I do. Do I go with cork? This is where I could do a little bit of some help. So anybody can give me some comments, tips and suggestions on what the next step probably would be as the most logical thing to do. It would be really helpful. So there we go, Keble Road Junction, episode 2, the layout in paper. Next stop, hopefully some track and some actual work on the layout itself. See you next time. Bye-bye.